Now there is a point I'll mention about him dragging his family later, as well as me being a supposed scaredy cat, but right now I have to ask, what did you hope to prove by including your younger siblings in this video? Seriously man, if you took them out of the video, very little would have changed. Okay, 3 things. The first is, nice job cutting off your own video. Truly, you are the master of editing. Second, if you don't want to waste the audience time, then why did you make that second response, let alone this video to begin with? Especially since your editing text goes on for like 30 seconds out of a near 2-minute video. Third, while most of the text he shows here I'll cover later, I do want to mention these 2 points right now. First off, as MTR said, I did give some background info on the original video in question, but to a certain extent, and truth be told, I was unaware of the supposed Skype call interview thing that Gohan had between you and Tyler over Gar versus Toph. When I made that one shot, which I'll get more into later, I was more looking at you doing commentaries, since I do remember back when you were known as Roaring Thunder Project, you told Blaze you were interested in doing commentaries, and apparently from what she told me back then, you seem to completely miss the point of commentaries. Lastly, the very last text he has here is a continuous issue throughout the second video. Way to present yourself as a misogynistic pig. Seriously, if this and your comment on how Blaze sounded like she smells of mayonnaise doesn't prove how sexist you are, then I don't know what will. So now that you got a small taste on who and what we are dealing with, let's look at his second response to Gale Force. This is the real meat of this commentary. A little late? You made a response to her less than a week before you made this video. What, did you all of a sudden get amnesia and forgot about that video? Or are you trying to have your audience pretend it never happened as a form of damage control? Because if that's the case, it's back up. And you have nobody to blame but yourself. Because you made it public in the first place. And now that's back, you are paying the price for it. Except your latest videos haven't been your death battles. All you post right now is a music video where you use John Cena's theme, a hallway discussion, a video involving comics where you suffer the curse of the missing shirt and try to prove you are not a DBZ tard, an intro, and some bizarre video where you talk about the US government. Good lord, that is reminding me of the Orion broadcast all over again. A lot of these people, including the ones you have responded to, have brought out valid points against you. And considering how much hot water you are in right now, it looks like you failed to debunk them, including me. Oh, and if you think he actually downloaded the video and shows what he is commentating on, sad to say you are sorely mistaken. Like his first response to Gale, his response to Midnight Anubis, and his response to Blazing Rants, he decides to play the video on his iPad. I know if he responds to this video, he'll mention how the apps lag like no other when he tries to download them, and trust me, we'll get to that point later. First off, if I'm a pussy like what you claim, then what does that make you? Since you dragged your younger siblings to a situation that doesn't concern them. And before you argue, well, it doesn't concern Gale Force or any other commentator, the difference between Gale Force or any other commentator and your siblings is that Gale is old enough to understand the situation and make her own decisions on where she stands. Your brother and sister, on the other hand, are too young to understand and probably just blindly followed what Big Brother says, which is very evident in your first response to Gale. Furthermore, and I know I won't be the only person to say this, I never requested Gale Force to commentate on that video, or run to other people to fight my battles like you and at least one fan of yours claim. I sent it to her to see her reaction to it. That's it. She made the commentary on her own accord, and to be honest, when she did tell me she was commentating on it, I was actually surprised, since I have a tendency to be needlessly hard on myself and think that I'm nobody special or important that is remotely worth defending, regardless from who it is. Oh, and I showed your response to me to Blaze, and, well...
You gonna make biscuits?
What? No.
You gonna make biscuits?
No.
You gonna make biscuits?
Hey, who the hell are you talking to?
No sins, take off the skin and dance around in your bones.
I was told from the doctors that if she takes her medication and takes the nighttime injection to the buttocks, she'll be cleared within 6 months. I'll mention your intro later, but what I'll point out now, and I'm aware MTR said it too, she was complaining about the length of your intro and how it wasn't very engaging. Plus, she was giving a suggestion to include some background info, like who you're commentating on, what video you are tackling, etc. So really, what exactly is wrong with that? Oh, and I find it funny that in the comments of this response, you said this, and yet I want to say it was like 3 days before you made your second response, she already corrected herself. First off, I find it funny how in the comments of your first response to Gale where you wished death on me, you mentioned how Gale, Blaze, and Kaden were cool people, and I'm the only bitch you know. Yet, you called all three of them bitches in your response videos or commentaries to them. In fact, you called Gale Force a bitch the most out of the three, so good job flip-flopping there, Manny. Second, she was talking about how you drag on your text for so long. In your response to me, you said if you did record yourself, you would have ran through all three parts in your first point on the commentary on Tyler in under 2 minutes. Yet you dragged on the text for roughly 6 minutes. That is why I said it was insanity. You could have shortened the video considerably by just recording yourself or using a microphone, but instead dragged the text to where you about tripled the runtime of that point. When you're doing a YouTube video, you need to make it as long as it needs to be, not longer than it should be. And that is a prime example of making a video longer than it should be, as with both of your commentary to Tyler and me, your videos had so much fat, it makes a walrus look anorexic by comparison. Okay, does it really excuse you from doing a text commentary when you obviously have the resources to record yourself or record the audio? No, it doesn't, since she was talking about you, not Gogeta. Second, I checked Gogeta's channel, and ignoring that the channel name makes me suspect he's a DBZ fanboy, especially since, like the co-op video with you and Gohan, he blatantly edited Goku vs. Superman 2 to make Goku win the fight. Like, say what you will about me editing the ending of the Gar vs. Toph death battle, but unlike you, Manny, I at least took my time to try and make the editing smooth. Third, did you ever stop to think he uploads more frequently than Gale Force? If we go by the past month, Gogeta has uploaded 5 videos, since I am stopping at the DBZ special History of Trunks Power Levels video. Gale Force, on the other hand, has uploaded just 2 videos in the past month. The first, I assume, is a meme video, and the other is the commentary on you. On top of that, I didn't see a video from Gogeta that was a commentary, which is what Gale Force said specifically. With the exception of maybe Clay Claymore, how many text commentaries are there now? The answer is not a lot. In addition to everything I have said, likes, views, and subscribers do not automatically earn you or anyone else a free pass from criticism. You want to know the funny thing? The first 2 points on my one-shot that you showed were on the clip I showed in my one-shot. The last 2 points are on the video as a whole. Second, while her wording was off in that part, later on in the video, she further explains how your video was not a one-shot, which, guess what, you conveniently left out in your response. Almost like you're trying to pull a straw man to make your argument seem weaker. So since telling you is not getting through to you, how about a visual demonstration? Here's how many times I showed a segment of your video in my video. As you can see, I only showed just one segment of your commentary on Tyler and had points within that one segment while mentioning other issues I had with your video as a whole. So on a technicality, it is a one-shot commentary. Now let's look at your response to me, and we are excluding the bits where you showed text to try and quote what I have said.
Okay, I have 4 things I'd like to say on not just this point, but the entire video as a whole, as I have a lot to say. Second, you show supposed interviews of Akira Toriyama to strengthen your points, which is all well and good. Third, I find it a bit funny that throughout this response commentary, you kept calling Tyler a DBZ tard. 4, I don't know how many times I have to say this to you since comments don't appear to work. Oh, and one last thing. You're redoing Kirby vs. Majin Buu again?
5 segments of my video. In fact, as Gale Force said, you showed my entire one-shot on you. Therefore, it is a commentary, not a one-shot commentary. You claim to be Blaze's #1 fan, and yet you didn't take any notes on how to do commentaries from watching her videos, let alone do that so-called research on how commentators do one-shots. I know I keep saying this, but once again, I find it funny that you claim Gale Force was supposedly whining and complaining on stuff like your intro and how long you dragged text on for, And yet, here you are nitpicking at her video on how she reads the text. Second, I have a hard time believing that DBZ characters will lose in your Death Battle series, considering your Skype name, which in the comments of this video you did make public, even to me before I assumed you deleted them, and other stuff like the fact that some of the pics you show, like in your response to me, are very DBZ-esque, makes me think you are biased towards the DBZ characters in versus matchups. In fact, I have a gut feeling you would have Goku beat someone omnipotent like Madoka Kaname, or even something like Cthulhu just to prove how mighty he is. Not to mention, I watched the original video that Tyler commentated on, and you seriously lowballed Superman's feats, and before you say you're going by the new 52 Superman, that is not in the title of TeenGohanFighter's video. If you look at the title, it suggests Superman as a whole throughout his near 80-year history. Now you may be asking, why am I mentioning Gohan's video? Well, we'll get to that later when I talk about his description box close to the end of the video. Oh, and I'll also get to him suspecting Gale of being Caucasian later as well. Oh no, let's give you a more fitting avatar. Let's see here. No, that's an avatar for TeenGohanFighter. No, that's also an avatar for TeenGohanFighter. No, because that would be an insult to that character. Perfect. You know, the Versus series whose 3D animation is so awkward, stiff, and sometimes glitchy to the point where I wonder if it's either bad on purpose or if those guys are just that incompetent. Or both. Oh, and before anyone accuses me of being a Screw Attack fanboy, I won't say Torian's fight animation is perfect by any stretch of the imagination, especially since it sometimes feels off to me, but unlike Cartoon Fight Club, at least with him, I can tell he puts effort in when he does animate a fight scene for Death Battle. Here's a question. If you're debating with other people in groups, then why didn't you review that information in your response to me? Just like when you show an interview with Akira Toriyama to Tyler, the fact you didn't cite anything until after someone calls you out on it makes me believe you just want people to blindly take your word for it. Plus, with the last screen cap, you can easily show comments and color out the last name and profile picture of the people involved. How is that not an option for you? I would like to know. First off, that was an apples to oranges comparison to make, since English and Spanish are a universal language, while slang isn't. Second of all, typos and poor grammar are legitimate problems with any video, and does show you did not double check your video before you made it public. Just look at your first response to Gale Force where you used the wrong "to." And no, that is not slang, that is obviously a typo. Since you mentioned you suspect she might be white earlier in the video, I will say this, it doesn't matter what race Gale is. She did have a legitimate criticism because you made it viewable for nearly anyone across the planet. Therefore, if you make a mistake like a typo, people have every right to call you out on it. And saying it's slang doesn't automatically excuse it. Folks, bear with me, this will take a while, but let's look at all the intros he just mentioned, shall we? With the commentary on Tyler, let's read that text. I would like to thank Fate Zero for giving me a good piece of music to use.
Hello everyone, it's your host with the most, Manny. In this video, I'll be reviewing 3 misconceptions in Dragon Ball. Why? DBZ tards annoy me and I'm going to put them in their place. A YouTuber named Tyler U8 Gaming will be in the DBZ tards corner, while I will be on the logical corner reviewing the DBZ tards logic. The correlation between Akira Toriyama's ranking system and the Super Saiyan multipliers, the Kachin Cube, and the Dragon Ball universe.
See, the point I was making when I showed the text in my one-shot was it was pretentious that you put Tyler in the DBZ tards corner as if he is in the wrong, and you are in the logical corner reviewing the DBZ tards logic as you being in the right. Heck, if you saw Tyler's first commentary when it was up, he didn't even remotely come off as being a DBZ fanboy. So all I could get from that intro was you did that to try and inflate your oversized ego. Now let's look at your intro to your one-shot on me. Besides showing a parody of Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan with a "Don't Mess with a Savage" text, and ending it with a wrecked clip, you gave nothing. No background on who you're covering, nothing on the video you're tackling, nothing on what happened, you know, the important stuff. That sort of thing can really help bring the audience up to speed on the situation. With your intro to your video directed at a single comment Caden left in your response to me, all you did really was throw a bunch of reaction clips, which consisted of you mugging the camera, and to me, more came off as awkward than funny. Lastly, with your intro to your response to Blaze, not only did it make me think of this joke, "We are the nation of domination," but also, like with this response to Gale Force, it more felt like you trying to be a villain of the week on Arrow. So to summarize this long point, your intros barely gave the audience any information, and that was her point on alienating new viewers. Oh, this is just great. Now Blaze is pummeling the doctors and security and is making a break for it because you used Stitch in the thumbnail of that response to her. I hope you're happy because now we are all going to die. Oh god! First off, when your Roaring Thunder project, I saw some of your death battles like Gar vs. Toph, and even your original Kirby vs. Majin Buu. You had a million different tabs, which I could assume you had a laptop or PC when you made that, and you never downloaded the videos you were showing. Not to mention, you did those videos in one long, continuous take, so one can make the argument that if that doesn't excuse you from not downloading the videos back then, why should you be excused now? Second, even if you got a new PC, considering you made comments like this in your reaction to a trailer of Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, it does make me think that you would still not try to improve on a single thing since apparently you and your fans don't care about video quality. Third, from what I can see, this bit of information wasn't revealed until after the fact, after I made my one-shot on you. So how was she or anyone supposed to know you were using an iPad, since again, from what I can see, you didn't make that public until after the fact. Next time, you need to explain things, otherwise we are not going to get it. Fourth, I want to thank Evil Brosif for sharing this with me, but there are a number of apps that you can use to download videos, which I'll put the link to that in the description, and I know you stated when you tried to use video downloading apps, it lagged. Here's a simple question, why didn't you try to make space by getting rid of apps, pictures, or videos you don't need or don't use? You could call it improvising all you want, but at the end of the day, you aren't really proving your case well at all. Since I gave you the visual demonstration earlier, tell me, Manny, how many segments of your video did I show? Furthermore, she supposedly doesn't know what a one-shot in the commentary community is because you cut out that part of her video where she does explain. I have to ask, is connotation just alien to you? Going by that logic, if I said there is nothing on TV, then I mean there is an empty space. The point I am getting at is there are many one-shot commentaries where someone brings up more than one point. So most commentators I see don't have an issue with you bringing up more than one point, unless if you're Sloth Boy, but I digress. The issue with your video was not that you brought up more than one point, but more that you showed several segments of my video, that being my entire one-shot, and try to pass it off as a one-shot. Just because you backed yourself up with one thing does not mean you're excused from everything else in the video where you need to show evidence. In your original commentary on Tyler, since you didn't cite your sources, it again makes me believe that you just want your audience to blindly take your word for it, and when someone does question you or calls you out, then you cite it after responding to them, especially in video form. Which begs the question, why don't you cite your sources to begin with? Heck, speaking of your death battles, since you mentioned it at the beginning of this video, it's painfully obvious the clip you used to talk about the characters were from another video. And oh look, you don't provide links to who it's from, as well as show people to the original video, which in your comics video, didn't you say you know what you're talking about? So here's another question, if that's the case, then why do you resort to using what other people say to talk about these characters and not discuss the characters yourself? You know, like what Ben and Chad do in their series. Furthermore, to add to my previous point, you complained to Blaze how you weren't taking an outro Caden used for his commentary on Proto Mario as your own, and yet the fact that you don't link the videos you use for your death battles, and even your response to Caden would suggest otherwise. What's this? People like a video that speaks ill of me? Blasphemy! But in all seriousness, I get it's your opinion, but even so, you didn't help your case with this response. Also, your last comment, once again, you were proven to be a misogynistic pig. First, it was making a comment how Blaze sounds like she smells of mayonnaise, which, keep it classy there, buddy, especially to someone you claim to be a big fan of. And now making a comment how Gale Force needs to get laid, and people only like her videos because of her heads and tails. There is no hole deep enough for you, is there, Manny? you're indeed on a quest for rock bottom. The biggest difference was that Rhino definitively showed that her video was poorly thought out and executed, which you neglected to show. So she had reason to apologize to Ryan. There's also the fact that happened over a year ago. She obviously has improved since then. You, on the other hand, Manny, you barely improved on a single thing since your days as Roaring Thunder Project, so she doesn't need to apologize to you, especially considering how much wrong was in both responses. Even though the video is more or less over, before I get to my final thoughts, let's take a look at the description, shall we? With the first thing, you state on the whole situation how Tyler mentioned you for no real reason and was flabbergasted that Blaze called you Gohan's co-op partner in her commentary. Well, how about I show a clip from the video Tyler commentated on? Wait, who's that? Why, that's you, Manny. A co-op is when you join someone in a video, so going by that, yes, you're indeed Gohan's co-op partner in that video. If this was a small cameo where you're in the video for a few seconds, then maybe I would have let you off easy. But no, you're in the video for several minutes, so you can't deny or question your involvement in the video. You also mentioned how I came out of nowhere with the video, when the interesting thing is, when you upload your commentary on Tyler, I actually left a comment sharing a lot of the points I had that would end up in my one-shot, and you never responded. And before you say, well, I don't see that comment, that's because it went down with the original video. After you took it down, because I guess it was blocked or got muted or something like that, so of course you can't see that comment. When you remove a video, all the comments on that video goes down with it. As for your comment saying you made a video on Caden's comment, I think Gale Force said it best.
Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
Lastly, how can you say you're going to respond to her video when you already did? Twice. And mind you, this is in the description of his second response to Gale Force. So that just proves you didn't read what you typed.